Hi. Thanks for stopping by to learn about how best to conceive your sigils. Symbols are a truly universal language. Their appearance speaks more powerfully than written words when conveying even very complex ideas. How can the average practitioner, with some esoteric working knowledge, best utilize this powerful tool to the benefit of their spell work? Talismanic disciplines such as Enochian magic, Hermeticism, and working with the Goetia all use preordained sigils as part of their seals and lamens. Is it possible, then, for anyone to tap into that kind of power without being a dedicated practitioner in that specific area? To begin, let's look at the intent of the spell, or its gestalt, the genesis of the thought. Reality itself is like a bin full of yarn. Your reality might be like a ball of orange boucle off in a corner. That ball of yarn might be touching several other balls adjacent. Eventually, all that yarn may end up being knitted into one unifying project. Perhaps this analogy will help you see how easy it is to jump between realities. I often fall asleep in one reality and wake up in a slightly different one. How can I tell? The bed grows by half an inch. Anything you imagine, no matter how horrible or delightful, exists in some form, somewhere. That's gestalt. Things you wish to have grow into reality, you can nurture and feed, just like you would with a plant or a child. Some of the language I will be using might not be technically precise, but I will try to be as clear as possible. It's much more difficult to portray the tiny, the whimy, the wiggly, and the wobbly with scientific precision than to generate a defined shape using complicated software and calculations. But in actuality, which one is a better representation? So, to speak on one's true intentions, let us first define the parameters of our desire. I would very much like to reach 50,000 subscribers over the next 2 years. That seems like a reasonable and attainable goal. What is my motivation for wanting to reach that level of viewership on this platform? I would like to be able to spread this knowledge freely to others, continue doing my divinations, and work on my skills as a videographer, which I actually really enjoy. I don't know if I would be able to completely support myself from YouTube ad revenue alone, because I want to avoid putting ads in the middle or at the end of videos. I know that some of you guys are trying to go to sleep. However, I would also have the kind of viewership that would support partnering the group of sponsors in keeping with the themes and content of my channel. At this point, it is a good practice to perform some kind of divination to determine possible outcomes of your working, and also some fine-tuning points that may make your spell slightly more effective. I will cover how to perform divination for spell work in a separate video, though, because the scope is quite large. Your goals may be different. Maybe you would like to conceive a child or buy a house or find a position in the career of your dreams. Everyone likes money, sure, but asking for money or a hot partner or material concerns really ignores the root of your desires. Money is not the root of your desires. The root of your desire is to not have to work and to live in a nice place. Money is the facilitator of that desire. Write out everything pertaining to this particular situation. It could take up a full page. That's fine. The goal is to condense the totality of your wish into one symbol, and for it to be the most effective, how you compose that idea matters the most. Once you have this idea captured fully on the page, we can start boiling it down into its most basic essence. Here are some different statements I might use to describe my intention to reach 50,000 subscribers in 2 years. 1. The income I earn from ASMR magical tools fully supports my luxurious lifestyle. 2. I wish to reach 50,000 subscribers over the next 2 years. 3. ASMR magical tools is my full-time job. 4. I don't have to put ads in the middle of my video to earn enough from AdSense. 5. I want to make videos and read tarot cards for the rest of my life. Let's look at these statements and see what might diminish their power. Statements like I want or I wish in your sigil will make it so that you only continue to desire those things and never achieve them. Similarly, by inserting the word don't into the 4th statement, I am actually telling the universe I do have to put ads in the middle of my videos to earn money. Negative statements don't exist in manifestation. Now, let's look at some of the more subtle weaknesses. By saying my YouTube channel is my full-time job, I am telling my subconscious self that over time I will grow to dislike creating content the same way I would if I were working any other job, and that at some point I intend to retire and live off of savings. That is not what my subconscious mind wants, and will fight against it. Similarly, I personally do not get the same motivation from numbers that some other people do. Therefore, a statement about increase of subscribership over time will create a subconscious block for me. I won't believe that it can be done. Let's look at the first statement. Do I want to live a luxurious lifestyle? Of course I do. Even if luxury is only a slightly better lifestyle than I have right now, that would be awesome and furthermore very attainable. My income to cost of living balance is sustained, which puts my mind at ease. I think I could do better though. How about this? The income I have earned in 2 years with ASMR magical tools has purchased my Benedict Canyon home and provided the resources to perfect my craft. This statement covers much more ground, but gives better context for my YouTube channel as a part of my desired overall lifestyle. We can also break it up into pieces when we turn it into a sigil, and I will do so like this. 1. Earn enough money to purchase a house outright. 2. Buy a home in Benedict Canyon. And 3. Have the time and resources to perfect ASMR magical tools. So you can see the statement of purpose has shifted again ever so slightly, but all the criteria for my vision are still being met. If you like, you can indeed use the longer statement of purpose to create your sigil. I prefer to break it up into pieces, create a handful of smaller sigils, and combine them finally into one sigil. Part of conceiving an effective sigil will be the amount of energy and focus you use to nourish it. You might notice that now we have a statement, buy a home in Benedict Canyon. As a standalone, this might not be quite as effective, but because now it is providing context for income and lifestyle, it should be okay. This particular statement is also aligned with some things that I have already perceived in my future as being possibilities. So if it changes slightly, my subconscious will know the right context for it. So, this part will probably be familiar to many of you. I watched quite a few sigil tutorial videos in preparation for my own course. If you only want the basics, there are plenty of 5-minute versions. My own purpose in making a sigil tutorial was to provide more information on how to maximize your results. This technique was developed by the grandfather of chaos magic, Osman Spare. I hope to release a video soon exploring more of his work. His sigil instructions are actually found in the Book of Pleasures. So for the first, just cross out all of the vowels. And then beneath, write the consonants on a separate line. And as I go through, how many R's do we have? There we go. All right. So there's the first one. Sometimes, if I have a very long phrase that I'm converting into a sigil, I'll even put a line through the entire word once all the letters are crossed out. Let's move on to the next one. Now, I don't think it would matter too much if you decided to take this phrase through the entire sigil process before moving on to the next line. It's really up to you. Alright, and finally the last line. Alright, so now we have these three lists of consonants. I did also want to point out that you can sigilize using acronyms. So instead of buy a home in Benedict Canyon, I could call that BAHIBC and create a sigil with that. This is just one way of condensing all of the letters down, but actually acronyms are widely used in Magick. You might remember Agla, Ararita, different phrases like that actually stand for vitriol, much longer statements. And the purpose is the same. It's to speak to your subconscious without your conscious mind being the wiser. Alright, so now actually what I like to do before moving on to creating the sigils can remove this page, and that way I can then remove this top portion. Alright, so I'm just going to cut right across here. And it's not totally essential to remove this portion, but it cleans things up and it starts the process of then fully sigilizing these in your mind. You could use gematria if you work with numerology and you want to plot the words onto a 1x9 square and connect the dots to create a sigil. I will make another video, I think, because angelic name sigils are often done this way, and the process of generating the numerical value of words is a little more intensive than I can really cover in this video. I have this book, Modern Magick, which is a very, very effective text. It covers pretty much anything you would ever need to know. I've also linked a couple of other texts down in the description, which I've used heavily for chaos magic. One of them being Advanced Magic for Beginners by Alan Chapman, and then the other being Visual Magic by John Fries. Both of those texts are very effective. So one thing that is in this book that you could also use if you wanted to is the Rose Cross here. And you would just simply take all of your different letters and plot them out. And then, as they've done down here, you could connect all those dots together to create your sigil. And as you can see, I have tabbed a lot of the pages in here. Another thing that I wanted to point out is that you could take symbols from like this in particularly is the Dictionary of Symbolism. So for example, this picture right here might look kind of familiar to some of you, because I have it tattooed on my arm. But you could use it to represent the battle between good and evil, or triumphing over your enemies. Of course, there's like lots of different cross iconography, even non-Christian. We have different dragons, dogs for loyalty, doves for peace, dream symbolism, male and female duality. So just keep that in mind also when you're creating your sigil, if you would like to add extra meaning in that way. I'm going to get out Buckland's Complete Book of Witchcraft now, because he has put in here some different, see here he covers number squares, so we can talk about that in a future video. But another thing that he's done is put all of these alphabets in here. So you've got Ogum, you have different ethnicities of runes. This one is called Passing the River. I've also seen that similar to Alphabet of the Magi. I don't remember if he has that in here or not. Oh yeah, Angelic, Malachim, Pictish. There's a couple of different Pictish scripts in here, right? But I actually was going to use for this sigil the Theban script, which isn't from Thebes at all. It was attributed to a manuscript from the 1500s where it was used as a cipher for Latin. The 1600s, 15 or 1600s, and then was of course referred to by Henry Cornelius Agrippa in another text. Agrippa was a pupil of this other person. His name escapes me at the moment. But you can see that all of these different letters have some similar curvatures and shapes. So I will take this page, R being like this, N G H P. Oh, geez. P. C. And S. So there we go. There's our first line. F. G. K. Let's start a new line. And finally, L. Alright, so now I'm ready to draw my sigils. All of these shapes are very similar, and it's kind of similar to this shape as well, right? And then we have some similar shapes here, 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 here. Alright, so we can give it kind of a flowery appearance here. Spiral it back in on itself. And then draw down, shoot like this. Incorporate these little bow ties from that cross finial. Yeah, from here we could go like this. Some of these swooping kind of lines, just like that. It's at this point that you can kind of deviate and make sure that you're, yeah, so I've got that, got some crossing lines, got some little swoopy bits. I didn't make a loop, so I can loop that. Got that covered. Actually make that much more like that. Got all of these covered, got that covered. A lot of this action. Just making sure that you are capturing all of the elements. So one thing I didn't really manage to encompass was this part right here. So I'll make sure that I come down and make this kind of a tall sigil. This could also be seen as like, here's the house part up here, and here's the basement, right? So the next one, we've got this right here, and we have a lot of these elements like this. So I'm going to start out just making a whole bunch of those. And then we have some of these kind of pointier elements. Some of them are turned in. We have that one that looks like a flag. Kind of put a shape in here. And as you can see, I'm also kind of mimicking the look of a canyon through mountains. Add one of these little elements over here. I think we have right here. And kind of make this an exaggerated form of this right here. Great, so now this one's done. And now this one. This one might take up a little bit more space. We've got a flag here. Got a cross here. We have a lot of pointy angles connecting to the rounder angles. We have a loop. We have this kind of crossing over line here. This shape's very interesting. So I might just start with that, because then this will take care of all of these elements. Make kind of a bigger, more exaggerated one of these forms, carry it out a little bit, make it zigzag off of the side. There, we got that. And we have a lot of these other pointy elements taken care of. And let's see. We need to add the basement again, for sure. Sometimes I just add these repeating motifs to make it more pleasant to the eye, but they don't necessarily have added meaning. Make this crossover even, and then we can take care of that. That's taken care of. That element is taken care of. Oh, yeah, that's kind of cool. Alright, so another thing we have here, we've got this kind of finial. That flag that I care about so much. There we go. Yes, okay. So these guys, I haven't added those in yet. Right, there we go. Something still seems like it's missing here. Really plant that there. Let's add another triangle right there. Yeah, that's a little bit better. And I feel like also okay, hold on. So I'm going to put a rectangle here. All right. And then carry it out here, reform that triangle, reform this angle. Yes, that feels much better. And even anchor it right there. Great. So, now we have all three of these sigils finished. And again, I'm going to cut this part off of the page. This is a sigil that I often use for travel, whether it's to keep my belongings safe when I'm on the road, or if I'm dealing with car troubles or transportation issues. And I didn't generate this using the same method. I just simply drew a picture of what I wanted to have happen. So that would be an example of a sigil that I use as a talisman. Alright, so now we have these three sigils, and we're going to combine them into one somehow. Let's give it some of these little bushes down here on either side. We have this part with these flowers. And then I wanted to have this kind of part extending down into the bottom. And I really liked this element. And this element are very similar, so I think I really only need to incorporate one of those. Also incorporate this element. So and then this can go up like that. No, I don't feel. Let's see, take this, travel right over here. And here we've kind of incorporated this element. Let's see if I can put one more kind of short in here. Yes. All right. And then do these little bow ties. Great. And some of these elements. Some of these elements. It doesn't have to be perfectly symmetrical. If you decide you'd like to do that, you can, but it's not necessary. Ah, yes, and then I can even incorporate some of these little things down here. Now your sigil is complete. And if I really had a border around this, I could cut it down to a much smaller shape. But since I've taken up the whole page, I won't bother with that. The sigil must be now charged with energy. This is equivalent to breathing the spark of life into your work. You may generate this energy in a variety of ways. The two most well-known methods are sacrifice and sexual energy. However, even for the most grandiose of spells, these might not be necessary. You could use vigorous exercise, intense meditation, or even bowel evacuation. Spare was known to use a technique called the death posture, which I'm going to save for another video, but I do invite you to research it. Make sure that the vibration of the working fits with your energy source. The key to this energy transmutation is that while charging, you are internalizing the sigil and allowing your subconscious to memorize and understand the message. This stage of the spell is thus twofold, both charging and internalizing to reach a state called praxis. Once you have reached praxis with your sigil, you may then activate it. The activation process is also twofold. You destroy the sigil, and then you immediately wipe any trace of it from your conscious mind. This is why it might be important to you to keep a book of shadows where you track your spell work. You may burn the sigil, you can dissolve it in water, you can rip it into little pieces. Most important is that you remove also all traces of your working, so that you may allow it to remain only in your subconscious mind. Now, you allow it to work. All the while, continue to take steps toward manifesting your goal. The spell will only work if the possibility exists for it to occur in this reality. It might manifest in another reality where there is less resistance, but in order for it to fully manifest here and now, the way must be clear. At this point, you may also decide to supplement the sigil working with a road opener spell, which I will cover in a separate video, but again, I invite you to research it on your own. That's it. That's the spell. You can also use sigils in the creation of talismans that are meant to be permanent. And in this case, continued exposure is meant to remind your subconscious of its meaning. Sigil crafting can also be used to conceive servitors, egregores, elementals, or other thought form type entities. Demons, angels, and deities often already have their own language, which you should use before attempting to create new sigils for them. In the creation of this video, I am producing a meta sigil, which will then become part of a hyper sigil. Hyper sigils are conceived by integrating as many aspects of your life as possible into the working, and are excellent if you are trying to make a substantial change. Music, video, almost any medium you can imagine can be used to produce a sigil. The key is that it must be introduced into your subconscious and then forgotten by the conscious mind. Having the physical sigil in your presence will make it more difficult to wipe from your conscious mind, but it's not impossible. I did create an audio-visual sigil in 2015 and 2016, which led me to then come here to Los Angeles, California. Shortly after returning from the 2-week music tour, which was the activation portion of that sigil, I had a premonition dream showing me where I was going to move here and a little bit about the job I would be taking to facilitate that move. That's it. That's everything you need to know, as far as I'm concerned, about sigil conception. I'm so pumped that I reached the big 500 subscribers. I couldn't have done it without any of you, and I'm just so grateful to have you all here. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. If you are interested in the sigil that I described, it is a DVD and it's available. I'll post the link in the description. But thank you so much for stopping by. I love hearing from you guys month after month. Don't forget to comment down in the description. Tell me what you thought. If you have any questions, if you have any ideas for follow-up videos that you're very excited about. And until next time, I hope to see you again very, very soon.